What up, what up?
What's up?
Man.
You all right?
Good to see you.
Good to see you, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Have a seat.
How we looking today?
Oh, man. The weather feel good, I can tell you that, man.
Look, I need to be a spring break in Miami.
Hey, take me with you. Don't leave me here, man. For the viewers, for those that don't know, this is Mr. Tim Bennett. Me and him, we've been friends for a little while now, and we do business together. But he brought me into his world, introduced me to the world of baseball. This is not just a barber tutorial show, but it's a educational show. It's a financial show. It's all about shocking your mind so you can think outside the box, I should probably say, and different ways to be financially independent. And he has many of those ways. What got you into baseball? How did you start out into baseball? Coming from cutting grass as a little kid and becoming a professional baseball owner. So take it away.
Yeah, so we cut grass for a lot of pretty influential people. And one of my dad's sayings was, whatever you do, just be the best at it and you'll rise to the top. So in his mind, it didn't matter if you cut grass or washed windows or played baseball, football, basketball, singer, entertainer, artist. It just appeared that the ones that were the best in their field and their industry, they all end up together regardless of, what they do for occupations. And so that's kind of where I got my start, working with people or for people like that, cutting grass. And it just so happened that one of the people we cut grass for was the Bush family, August Bush, the fourth. They own Budweiser, and then the Bostic family, who owned a big trucking company. We had the folks that own Publix that we worked with as well. They ended up buying a team and naming it the Tampa Bay Devil Rays at the time, not the Tampa Bay Rays. That's kind of how I got started in baseball. It was just being around those guys and having that relationship. They offered me a position in the front office. I actually turned that down.
Okay. So they saw you cutting grass. Now,
Right.
how do a person that's a millionaire or a billionaire see a little boy cutting grass in the field and say something is different about that guy? Because I tell people all the time, you are the first person that sells yourself.
That's right.
You can't get a house unless you have first created good credit. You have first created 2 years on a full-time job so you can have 2 years tax return. You must sell yourself before you can ask somebody to give you anything.
That's right.
So how did you think that you didn't even know, unbeknownst to you, how do you feel you was carrying yourself to sell yourself for somebody else to see you and take you for a ride to where you at now?
That's all discipline. I give that credit to my dad. He was a disciplinarian, and so we had no choice but to carry ourselves the right way. So the alternatives were not good.
Yeah, it sound like my daddy.
Yeah. So, but those guys that we worked with, I happen to get a lot of breaks. There are a lot of people who shared the, either the talent or a higher level of talent than I had. Especially in my family. My brother was extremely smart. He was one of the valedictorians in our school, or high school. My dad was pretty intelligent, my mom. So my family was, I call them legal hustlers. My dad always kept a little money in his pocket, and he stayed with a job. And so he created his own yard business. One of the largest, now they call them landscape or horticulturalists in Central Florida at the time. But he was very well known for his professionalism. So we kind of had a springboard to start, and that was a big piece of it, was having that good family lineage. And then at that point, just, as I tell my daughter, if you start something, finish it. Don't start anything you're not going to finish. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of a training. If you force yourself to finish everything you start, then you won't start something you're not going to finish.
That's right.
And that comes with a lot of discipline. There's a lot of things that I've started that I may lose money on, but I have to finish because I started it. And
that's
so
right.
That's a life lesson to invest wisely or spend your time wisely, because if you within yourself know that you can't finish, or you can't start something that you don't finish,
right,
then you start making better choices in life. And so a lot of that comes from the discipline that I had as a young man, the family that I had, and then of course a lot of good teachers in school and good association, hanging around the right people. Mm-hmm. There's choices you make every day, and those choices are going to kind of determine where you go. It's like a rudder on a boat. You rarely see the rudder. People don't consider it that important, but it's just as important as a compass.
There you go.
You know, so the compass and the rudder, they're on opposite ends of the boat, but they work together. So that's kind of the way I.
So after you got into, after they say, okay, we're gonna pull you in, and they had you working in the front office, what were you doing in the front office?
Man, I did everything.
Everything.
Oh man, whatever needed to be done.
And who was you? What team were you working for at the time?
The first team I worked for was an independent team that I probably done every job from, you know, washing clothes, washing the players' uniforms, cleaning the stadium, doing sales. It's interesting. I was named the general manager after about a year. And a lot of people said, well, they just named you the GM because they didn't have any other alternative. They had no choices. And I said, well, that's cool.
You're going to show them what you made of.
Yeah, I take it how I get it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I learned pretty quick that after being a GM for a year and a half, that really wasn't my strong point, my strong suit. And I started then, this was some 15, 16 years ago, maybe 17 years ago. I said, you know, I think ownership is what I want. You know, GMs come and go.
Right.
But, you know, typically owners, you know, they stick around until you're ready to go.
And you could have settled, but you didn't. You wanted more.
Absolutely, yeah. I knew that having the ownership would allow me to step in and make the changes that I wanted to make in the industry as a whole. At that point, there was even fewer blacks in ownership than there are now. Even now, there's 5 or 6 that are in ownership. If you look at Derek Jeter, Magic Johnson, you have a couple of guys that are investors, but they're not active day-to-day owners. And so I'm one of less than 5 that are active day-to-day owners that are African American, and I cherish that. But comes with a lot of responsibility and a lot of headaches as well. So when you're breaking through that glass ceiling, you know, there's a chance you'll get a cut or two. And so I've certainly experienced those cuts, but wouldn't change it for the world.
So after you did that, and what was the first team, or where'd you go from Florida to branch out into the baseball world on your own as your own man and owning teams?
Well, probably one of the funniest stories, a lot like you've done, I wanted to get in the Braves organization. That was just the team I knew I wanted to get in with. And probably the funniest story, ironic story, but I had no fear, so I went over to Turner Field at the time and pulled my cell phone out and said, hey, I'd like to talk to Hank Aaron.
Right.
And the young lady answered the phone and she told me, you know,
keep it on the stop.
She told me it doesn't work like that. You gotta have an appointment. He's got to know you. And I told her, I said, well, I think he'll want to know me. I'm trying to do some things in baseball over in Mississippi. And after that rejection, I didn't get a chance to meet Hank. And that was back in 2003, 2004, around that time. Yeah, I'll get that one later. They were down in Orlando with their AA team at Disney World, and contacted them, and they said, hey, yeah, we do want to move our team, but we need a stadium. And the mayor from Montgomery called me and said, hey, look, we understand that you got the line on a team, and we want to build a stadium and relocate a team to Montgomery, Alabama. And in 2004, that was the first relocation that I was able to put on my resume, relocating the Tampa Bay Rays AA team from Orlando, Florida, Wide World of Sports, to Montgomery, Alabama. And then a year later, got back with the Braves and relocated their team from Greenville, South Carolina, relocated them into a brand new stadium in Pearl, Trustmark Park. And so that kind of began my relationship with the Braves and Hank Aaron and Bobby Cox and John Sherholtz and all the old names that have been around the Braves organization for years, and Dayton Moore and Derek Schiller and all the guys that some are still there. Took all the money that I made and put it into bringing the Milwaukee Brewers AA team to Biloxi. So that's how we got the AA team here in Biloxi.
But you know enough about business to understand how to capitalize on how to make money with every aspect of the game, like such as the field, how you have control of the field and what comes in and out of the field, and how to make money like that with revenue.
That's
you know,
right.
so a lot of people, just because they businessmen, a lot of times they don't control where their money, how their money moves, how it comes to them, and and you kept control of that, and you fought for control of that.
Yeah, there's 4 revenue streams in a sports facility. You got your tickets, you got your marketing, you got your concessions, and then you have your extra events or your entertainment that can take place in the facility itself. And so while I wanted to be an owner, I also saw the value of having control of the facility for reasons of being able to bring events into that facility. It's a facility paid for by the city, county, state, taxpayers usually. And so I've always seen it as very important to make sure that we have as much activity in those facilities in the off season as possible to help to pay for the facility. Baseball is a game that's played not all of the year, but usually around 6 months out of the year. At this level, we play 140 games a year, 70 at home, 70 on the road. But if you multiply 70 times the 3 hours it takes to play a game, that's 210 hours. You can't pay for a $35, $40 million stadium operating 210 hours a year. So Walmart is in a lot of cases a 24/7 business, but even your standard businesses have to open anywhere from 10 to 12 hours a day just to survive. And so to me it seemed a little disingenuous to ask a city to build such a facility and then use it as randomly or sparingly as a lot of teams typically would use them. And so that's why I set up my company, Overtime Sports and Cush Sports Group, to be able to show the city that we weren't going to just come in and ask them to or demand that they build a stadium, but also be there to back up the facility itself by adding other events. And so for those who don't like baseball, we have softball, we have football, we have soccer, we have concerts, we have food shows, we have car shows.
And all is done under Overtime Sports, all of you.
Correct.
Okay.
Overtime Sports and Cush Sports Group. And so, once you figure out how to make that facility a multi-purpose facility, then at least the city feels better about the effort that we're putting forth as an ownership group to make sure that the stadium is used as regularly as possible, producing tax revenues, bringing guests and tourists in from out of state, and a lot of whom would not normally come were it not for that event.
Right.
We did one event here in Conference USA that had anywhere from a $12 to $15 million economic impact. Bigger than that, it was seen on television live for 5 days. And so it's hard to replace that. If we didn't have the new stadium, we don't have that event.
That's right.
If we don't have that event, we don't have that $12 to $15 million economic impact for those 3 years that we had it here.
You have to pay the conference to come and play.
Yeah. I spent roughly about $500,000 a year, $500,000 a year to bring that tournament in. We have of course, the television doesn't come for free. You got production that comes with that, load in, load out. You have your commentators, broadcasters, your support, your SAT trucks. Just a lot that goes into putting a game on television. But the returns are super great for the city, especially when you live on the Gulf Coast, and typically when you see something about the Gulf Coast, if it's not COVID, it's a hurricane. If it's not a hurricane, it's a tornado. If it's not a tornado, it's a flood.
Yeah.
It's always something, social issue. It's always something negative. But to get 5 days of America's favorite pastime.
That's
baseball,
right.
yeah,
Now let me ask you this. Before you even brought the deal to me, I believe at first you had to deal with this and put this together kind of independently.
Correct.
No major backing from no organization. He did it.
Yeah.
And he went to a few good friends that he knew would invest with him. And I still thank him to this day for him coming to me, and allowing me to be part of Overtime Sports. And I like the way you structured your company, because people really like knowing details and how stuff go. But if you don't mind speaking on what you do for an investor that comes to your company, the deal that me and you did.
That's right. Well, I own, my ownership is a personal stake in the team, and then Overtime Sports is a separate company. and then we allow investors like yourself to come in. And there's risk involved. That's one of the things I appreciate about working with you, Emmanuel. There's been some times we win, there's some times we lose, but
That's right.
I tell people there's no athlete that has a ring on his finger that hasn't lost a game.
That's a fact.
There's no Heisman Trophy winner that is a quarterback that hasn't thrown some interceptions. So, do we lose some? Absolutely. Do we win more? Absolutely. That's the key to it is not just everybody knows how to win, but knowing how to lose and recover from that is very important. And so when we look at when we go into a venture such as this, you and I typically sit down and investors sit down and say, okay, what's the risk? And is it worth the investment? And then making sure there's an extra strategy to make sure everybody's made whole on the investment and all interest payments are paid. So there's always a situation that we get into that we say, hey, this could go wrong in this way, or it could go great in that way. And there's an extra win when it goes great, and there's a make sure everybody gets what they're supposed to get when it doesn't go. So that's kind of for me, the beauty of investing is, no one wants to invest and lose everything.
That's right.
But you can invest and get back what you were promised to get back. You may not get extra, but you say, hey, look, we didn't do what we want to do on this one, but we live to fight another day. And so
right.
I found that to be very key.
That's right.
When it comes to investing. And then being upfront and communicating is very important as well. So that's the difference.
Now, I will say this. Doing business with you, I never did business with somebody so good. This man is a true, genuine businessman. He do business the right way. Just the bottom line. And that's why I continue to invest with you when you offer me things. He's just not just a baseball owner, He owns stuff, I don't even want to speak on something, but I'm going to just say, yeah, he on the golf course. I'm going to just say that,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And when he do things at events on his golf course, he'll ask me, do I want to invest? And he'll give me the opportunity to invest with him. And so far, I pretty much invest with everything he asked me to invest in, be real with you, because we do good, we have good returns, and he does business the right way. And one thing I noticed about him is people want to work with him. That go back to what I was trying to tell you earlier. Yourself is your first number one seller, who you are as a person. If don't nobody like you, don't nobody want to deal with you, you ain't gonna be able to get no funding for nothing. A house, a business, your wife even leave you. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody want to fool with you if you're hard to deal with. You could be sitting there with $100 million you won at the lottery and just go broke.
That's right. That's right. Well, the word I always tell the athletes is sustainability. It's not how much you make, it's how long you can keep it. And that's the reason I named the company Over Time, is money over time.
Good.
Do you take $100 million, in a contract in your third or fourth year? Or do you tell them, look, what's the team worth? Team's worth $1 billion. Well, I don't want the $100 million. Give me 8% ownership in the team, and I'm gonna go win every game, and I don't want to be traded because this is my team. So you take a personal interest in that team. And so having the ability to keep money over time is a real secret to me. It's not, as you mentioned, I think there's a movie where they said, hey, they gave the guy, X number of dollars and said, you got to give it back on Monday. You got the whole weekend. What are you going to do? Well, if you don't know what to do with money, you're probably going to give them back less than they gave you.
That's a fact.
I don't care if it's $100 million, $10 million, or $10. You don't know how to invest that money, so when Monday comes around, you've built something that can sustain itself and keep that money rolling in, and you got some problems. So over time, the name of that company is based on money over time, making sure that you keep money coming in, and that, paying an athlete a whole bunch of money that's never had money before, and then putting it in the newspaper so everybody knows he's got the money.
That's right.
And so he adopts about 50 new friends and new relatives. And so very difficult for him to keep that money. He buys, typically an athlete's going to buy the car, house, real estate, based on a suggestion of the people that gave him the money. And so you're really giving the money right back to the people that gave it to you.
That's right.
When you're out of money, they're not giving you any more if you're not hitting threes or
bottom line
touchdowns.
Bottom line. They ain't gonna give you no more money.
That's it. That's it.
And not to name drop just for the sake of name dropping, but I will. You know, I know you work with Tracy McGrady a lot. Like, he introduced me to Brett Favre, you know. When I walked in the room, Brett was standing here. I'm like, oh, that's Brett Favre. What's up, man? You know?
Yeah.
And me and Brett had a good time that day. I ain't gonna lie, we had a good time. But,
yeah, Tracy's one of the more genuine guys. We grew up in the same neighborhood, come from from the same street, so to speak. But we talk about a genuine guy that's, a guy with his high school sweetheart, and they've been married, still married, raising their kids, and just a real guy that has given me more than just a friend. He's like a little brother to me. We're about 10 years older than that cat, but he's really been just a great friend more than anything else. And of course, we work together, we invest together, and we go through the same thing. We have wins and losses. It's just like any team.
Yeah.
But we continue to play together, and that's the key.
Hey, that was well put.
Yeah.
And and like I said, being around him, being around Tim, and working with him giving me the opportunity, that put me on a different level. The times when we work together, like I say, him and Tracy McGrady invest in things together. They do some stuff with Overtime Sports, and then with my name stamped on Overtime Sports, who would have ever thought? I never would believe that me and Tracy McGrady, and I would be integrated with Tracy McGrady in a business deal.
That's right.
I never believed that. I'm a barber. That's what I'm just a barber. That's it. But I hustle myself. Teach the people, teach the youth. If you don't make it in sports, or like the commercials say, I went pro in something other than sports. I would, like, I'm a singer. I was trying to make it in the music business. And I just sung on national television. Matter of fact, I just got a phone call last week. They want me to sing for a 4th of July deal on national television. I appreciate everything everybody has done for me, because everything was a learning experience.
That's right.
Me owning this shop took me to big business. I had to learn about small business first.
That's right.
And then when I got my hands on some money, I didn't go buy no rims. I ain't knocking those that do. I'm just telling you what I did. I didn't go buy cars. I ain't knocking those that do. I'm driving a 04 truck right now. I can go buy any vehicle I want to, but I crank that up every day. That's what I do. Because I don't feel I'm through building yet. I haven't arrived. I'm a day trader. I flip properties. I buy and sell houses. I buy houses cash now. College degrees ain't always paying the money. It's about understanding the way money moves, which is very important, to understand the way money moves. Trades, that's what I did. I picked a trade and went with it. I got into barber because I was trying to make it in the music business. I wanted freedom. I didn't want to be a boss to tell me, no, you can't go and sing in that show, because I've also sung and did soundtracks for movies. You know what I'm saying? And those spur of the moment call. I was standing here cutting at 21 and got a phone call and had to crank my car and shoot straight to Atlanta to record outside of us, to write the music sitting in the car. So, I had to do these things, man. It was all in the grind, in the process. You see what I'm saying? But the song I did make the soundtrack for the movie. So it's all a grind. It's all a process, man. It's all a learning and stepping stool. And I appreciate you coming down here, because I'm through with the haircut. I know we're just in here talking right now. See, here's a lot of things that the black community don't have, is they keep trying to give us people like Al Sharpton. Hey, these young black kids don't relate to him. I'm just being honest. What I'm looking for is regular guys with success stories, regular people. And the blacks these days, they not growing up with that black leader that say, hey, be honest with you, pull your pants up.
That's right.
That ain't floating. You're not getting that job. That's not gonna work for you. Somebody has to be that truth teller. Somebody gotta be that person that stands in the gap for the youth. And I'm just doing my part. It's a very small part. Probably don't nobody even listen to me. But I do my part. I try. I got you here to help me tell the story.
That's right.
To just take regular stuff and be successful. You took a grass cutting, stepped it up to Major League Baseball. Everybody want to know how things work behind the scenes, and putting things together. And I appreciate you coming on here, taking up your time to do it, because I know you got a meeting to be in.
Well, I'll say this in closing. I tell the ball players, we have a little speech time before the games, especially if it's a big game. It's a normal game. Everybody just goes out and does their thing. But the biggest competitor is in the mirror, and the biggest failure is the one that doesn't. And so we all fail. And so I tell people, look, guys, the biggest competitor is in the mirror. If you can discipline yourself to be successful, now, are you the first one in the gym and the last one to leave? If you are, you got a good chance of being the best in the gym that night on the floor or on the field. That comes from discipline. So that's the biggest competitor. The biggest competitor for me has never been the person across from me. It's me knowing that I've put the work in to be better than that person that sits across from me, or better than that person that's on the other side of the ball, or better than that person that's on the other bench. I'm better than that person when it comes down to getting in a meeting and having my paperwork together. If you can be the best you, then who can stop you? At the same time, the only thing worse than being a failure is not trying.
That's right.
And so, if you're afraid to fail and you're not going to try, then I sometimes ask myself, why'd you get up?
I'm gonna tell you something, man. You said a lot of things that my daddy told me. It don't matter what you do. Be the best at what you do. Mm-hmm. If I don't get up and create no money, I don't eat because I don't work for nobody. I am my brand. He is his brand. So, man, with that being said, man, I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you coming down, man, and another satisfied customer. And we're going to get this thing going, man. I really do appreciate it, man. You
don't need mirrors at this shop.
No, you don't need no mirrors. Matter of fact, what is he talking about? A mirror? We don't even need that. We're going to throw that in the trash right there. You know what I'm saying?
Now I have to go do my job and get back his investment.
hey, that's the way it works. You know what I'm saying? That's how it works. That's how it go, man. Hey, he needed something. He hustled. I hustled. So,
yes, sir.
Hey, man, I appreciate you, man.
Okay,
Thank you, man. All right, man.
Yep.
Enjoy yourself.
Good deal.